So anyway, let's just go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I watched, I've been watching for quite some time, and I had to wait for the last episode before I wanted to talk to you about it, although I didn't really need to. But the first thing that I watched was a show called The White Lotus Season 3 on Max. Rotten Tomato score gave it an 87%. Audience score gave it a 78%. I think it deserves more than that. It stars so many people, but the reason I was excited about it this time was because it had Walton Goggins. I love him. He is such an amazing actor. Like, I remember him all the way back from The Shield and Sons of Anarchy when he was when he was in drag, like he was that woman. Oh my god, I thought he was like the most beautiful woman. But anyway, so Walton Goggins was in this season, so I was like, yes, already. Now, I know it's season 3, but well, technically this season you do need to know about season 1 and season 2. But typically they stand alone on their own, but season 3 kind of connects all 3 seasons together, which is new for the show, really. But it's pretty much the same situation. So, like, you spend a week in the life of the ultra privileged, okay, like mega rich people who are on vacation at one of the many White Lotus resorts around the world. And this time, I believe they were in Thailand. It's like there was a group of friends. One of them was a celebrity. was so good. It was so good. It was so real. And the whole time, like, I was just imagining if this was happening to my son, to our family, that kind of thing. And it was so hard. It was so hard because it's so shocking. You know, imagine waking up 6 o'clock in the morning to police officers busting your door down and dragging your son out of the house without giving you any information. Terrifying, right? Like, oh, and then your little boy is in jail being accused of murder, you know, and it was so hard. It was so hard and very sad. Like, the last episode was kind of slow, but the more it went on, the worse it got, and I was bawling, like, just thinking about it. Oh my god, I was bawling the whole time. That last episode, it was so awful and terrible. And after it was done, I just had to sit there in silence to, like, try and recover from what I had just experienced. Like, it was so awful. It was so awful, but also really, really good. Like, it's a really good show, limited series, whatever. And Stephen Graham, oh my god, he will forever be Al Capone from Boardwalk Empire to me. Forever. It doesn't matter what he does, he'll always be Al Capone. But Stephen Graham, the acting, just on another level. Fantastic. It was so good and just terrible at the same time. Terrible. So, yeah. Would I ever watch it again? No. I cannot put myself through that emotionally. Just no. But I do recommend it. Just watch it at least once. Okay, the next thing that I watched was a documentary, and I believe it was like a little mini-series. Like, there may have been like 4 or 5 episodes. I'm not sure. But it was on Max, and it's called A Body in the Snow: The Trial of Karen Reed. Now, I saw it. Rotten Tomatoes gave it no score. Audience gave it no score, at least at the time of this recording. I saw it on Max, and I just kept being like, meh, you know. But No Frills ASMR told me that she saw it, and she highly recommended it because it reminded her of The Staircase. I immediately was like, yep, that's the very next thing that I'm going to watch, okay? Because The Staircase is one of the craziest documentaries that I've ever seen in my life. They've actually made a movie about it as well. If you have not seen The Staircase, I believe it's on Max. You have to go watch it. It's amazing. But so as soon as she told me that it was like The Staircase, I was like, yep, I'm gonna watch it. So, but it's like, how could it be like The Staircase, right? Alright, so it's a documentary about a trial of Karen Reed, who was charged with the murder of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. And it's so complicated. It's so complicated that they need, you know, multiple episodes to explain it. And what makes me mad about this is, yes, it is like The Staircase, because you're never gonna know. But it's like 100% go watch this, okay? So, like, what the hell happened? Okay. Um, so there's another trial that's going to be happening this year, I believe in June. In June of this year, and it's like, is it gonna be on that Court TV thing? Like, I think on YouTube there's some type of channel, and I can't think of it, but whenever big cases and stuff, you can watch the trial, like, live. That's how I watched the Robert Durst trial or whatever. If they have the Karen Reed trial, I'm 100% watching that this summer. But it's like not her husband, her boyfriend, he's found in the snow, dead, and they don't really know how he died. There's so many different angles to it, and like police corruption and cover up, and like what is going on in this town? What is going on with this case? It's crazy, and you have got to watch this documentary. It's fantastic. Okay, the next thing that I watched was a movie on Stars. Now this is kind of older. It's from 2022, but I just now saw a trailer for it on something. Maybe TikTok. I don't know. But I saw like a little clip of the movie and I was like, what is this movie? And then I go to the comments and it said White Bird. So, it's a movie called White Bird on Stars. But it's based off of a book called Wonder. I've never heard of either. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it a 76. Audience score gave it a 99. Audience got it right. It stars Helen Mirren, Gillian Anderson, Araya Gazer, Orlando Swart. I don't know. I'm the worst with names. But it says that it's not a true story, but it's based off of true events. So, to me, it's like, come on, it's true. It's based in World War II, so you know I had to see this, right? So it starts out like in now time, okay? And this grandmother is talking to her grandson because the grandson was being like a bully or something in school to another classmate, and he had to switch schools. And she's like, I've never told you this story before, but I think you need to hear it now, you know, because of who he was becoming. And his grandmother is Helen Mirren, and she was a young girl in France during World War II, and she's Jewish. And so she's just telling the story to her grandson about her time, you know. And so her name is Sarah in the movie, and she it gets too late or something, like her family was going to leave because they were in the free zone or something like that, but you know, free zones didn't last. But by the time they realized, whoa, we're gonna be screwed here, we need to leave, it was too late. It was too late for them to leave. She was at school, and all of a sudden, like, the Nazi officers come up to the school, and they're like, we need all of these students. And the school knew that they were coming, so they got all of the Jewish people out of the school, and they were like, you guys have to go and hide in the woods, you know. And there was this jerk in her class, and like one of the Nazi officers is like, where are all these students? And I guess it was like the principal or something, like the headmaster or something like that, was like, oh, none of these students came to school today, I don't know, you know. And then this boy popped his head out the window and was like, yo, escape to like his family farm or something, and she ends up staying in the barn. And it's just about what happens during that time. Okay. It says that it's based on true events, but it's fiction. But when I looked it up, it said that the things in the movie did happen. They just didn't all happen to the same person. And so they put all the little pieces together to make a good story, right? So to me, it's like, whatever, all these things actually happen, so this is true, you know? It's a World War II movie, so it's aggravating and very, very hard, you know? Like, why do I do this to myself? Like, why? I don't know. I gravitate towards things during that time, you know? And it was so good, and also so incredibly sad. Like, I did cry. I cried at the end of this movie because it was just such... like, I still can't believe that the Holocaust happened. Like, how does this happen? And I've watched documentaries to show how it happened, but I still don't get it. But the movie is fantastic. The acting is fantastic. And, like, there are certain points in the movie where you're just so happy, you know? And then such terrible things happened. But I do recommend it, and I will probably watch this movie again. Just because I gotta do it to myself, right? Okay, the next thing that I watched, oh my god, this was recommended to my husband from someone at work. I've never heard of this, but it is a complete series, so it's done. It came with, there are 3 seasons in this series, and it is on Apple TV, and it is called C. Rotten Tomatoes score gave it a 63, audience score gave it an 84. I would say like 85, 90. And honestly, I was like, when he told me about it, I was like, it didn't sound good, you know? And he was just like, well, so many people at work told me about it, and they were like, yeah, you gotta watch this show. And I was like, well, like, what's it about? Who's in it, you know? And he said Jason Momoa was in it, and I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of Jason Momoa. I just, like, he's alright. He's alright. I like him in real life because he's such a goofy, funny guy, you know? And I did like him in Game of Thrones, you know? But he's just not, like, my absolute favorite. He is now. This, to me, was his best performance of all time. Like, oh my god, there are so many people in this show, but the only one that I recognized was Jason Momoa. So, what is this show about? Okay, so it starts out where it was saying, like, in 2020 or something, there was some kind of virus, and I was like, wow, that's convenient. I think this came out before 2020, but there was some type of virus that, you know, came out, and it affected everyone, and it was so bad that it caused all of humanity to lose sight. So everyone from that moment on was born completely blind, and the show is set in the future, like 500 years in the future, and you would think it'd be all futuristic, right? No, because everyone has gone blind. Can you imagine the entire world going blind right now? That's not gonna be good, you know? So 500 years in the future, it's more like, I don't want to say apocalyptic, but like there's has just collapsed, you know, and like nature has taken over and stuff because I don't know. So it's like it's more like in the past, you know, but like there are modern like structures and buildings and like a carnival thing or whatever, but nobody knows how to use any of it, and like I don't know, it's interesting. So they live in like these tribes and stuff now, but there are like rulers, I guess, and there's like a queen and like a whole thing. So it's kind of like Game of Thrones-y like that, where it's like different houses and you know, a queen and stuff like that. But it's not like that, but in a way it is. Anyway, so there's this woman who I guess showed up to this village like pregnant, and Jason Momoa was like the leader of this tribe, and he was unable to have children, so he was decided, I will marry this girl, and these will be my kids, you know. And so he does, you know, he marries her and she delivers the babies. Well, the babies, she has twins, and these babies are born with sight. And they're like, what? Because this mystic ability has been like lore, like that, like mythical creature type thing, like sight. What is this? What do you mean? You know, like it's just a fairy tale type thing. But these kids can see, and so they raise the kids, but they kind of like hide their sight, because if anyone found out that they could see, they would be considered like witches or something, and they would be burned or murdered or whatever, you know. So anyway, that's basically how it starts out. These kids with sight, they can see. And so Jason Momoa, he has to protect his children and his family at all costs because the queen has found out about these children who have the ability of sight, and she has declared them witches, and she sets out like basically an army of witch finders or witch hunters or whatever to find these children and murder them. So yeah, and it's just about that, but there's so much more. There's so much more, but this show is so good, and it is so intense, and at times like terrifying, and just like every single episode at some point I was just like biting my nails and just like, oh, my stomach is just because it's that intense. Like my stomach physically hurt from watching this show, okay? Because it's just it's so intense, and the fight scenes, I'm not really into like fighting and like combat type of it fits with the show, but that's not the main part of it, you know. But there are times when there are fights or battles. Can you imagine fighting someone completely blind and they're blind, and like how do you do that, you know? Anyway, but the fighting scenes specifically with Jason Momoa are the most amazing, cool, intense fights you've ever seen. Like, he's the most badass guy in the world, okay? It's such an exciting show. It's great, and I liked the fact that I had never heard of it before, so that I could watch the whole series, you know. And it is a very binge-worthy, it's like so realistic. I don't know, it was amazing, but like nail biting and intense and just sometimes hard to watch, just like, oh my god. I would definitely watch that show again because it's so good, so good. So I highly recommend it. Okay, now the next thing that I watched, I didn't want to watch it, but I had to watch it, and I will explain. Okay, so it is a movie that's like basically 3 hours long, but it's wicked. It's on Peacock. Audience score gave it, or Rotten Tomato score gave it 88%. Audience score gave it 95%. Stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. I don't know. I didn't want to watch it. I did not want to watch it, but one of my favorite movies of all time is The Wizard of Oz. I have watched that movie probably 100 times. I love that movie. So I was like, I didn't even really know what this was about. I thought it was like a remake or something like that, but no, that's not what this is at all. It is the untold story of the witches of Oz. So the movie starts out right after the Wicked Witch of the West has been killed. Dorothy is nowhere to be seen at this time. So the Wicked Witch of the West, later you find out that her name is Elphaba. Yeah. So Elphaba is dead. And Glinda, the Good Witch from the East or whatever, the Munchkins are all like, is she really dead? Yay. And she's like, yes, she's dead. And they're like, one of the Munchkins comes up and is like, is it true that you actually knew her and that you were her friend? And everybody's like, oh my god, because how could Glinda the Good Witch have been friends with the Wicked Witch of the West, right? And so she's like, yes, it is true. And they're like, what? And so she starts telling the story of how they actually met, because they met in school. And this is when it kind of gets like Harry Potter-ish to me, okay? Because these witches go to a school for witches. I say witches because they don't really seem witchy to me. Like, it's kind of like Harry Potter. You go to like learn spells, and I don't know. It just seemed very Harry Potter-ish to me. Okay. But she wasn't even supposed to be going to the school. She was just taking, Elphaba wasn't even going to the school. She was taking her sister to the school or something, and something made her mad, and all this stuff happened. And then one of the headmasters was like, whoa, I want to train her, because she's like the most powerful student that I've ever seen, and so they basically enroll her. And Ariana Grande is like this goody two shoes, like, oh my god, I'm such a perfect, amazing, like, snobby witch. Okay, she's the worst. Which I had no idea. I thought Ariana Grande was like the sweetest, like, whatever. And so when she started acting like rude and snobby and terrible, I was like, what? Because I thought she was the good witch. I'm like, how is this the good witch? Anyway, they end up sharing a room together, kind of like in Wednesday, where Wednesday and that other girl who's all like bright and cheery have to share a room. is actually the good guy. She's the good guy, okay? And it's like, I have to see the second movie, Wicked 2, or whatever it's called, because it's like, how does this